What's going on, family? This is the Aosinspires Classic, exclusively only on YouTube. Had I known, had I listened.
Had I known, had I listened, I probably would have avoided a couple of years of pain and frustration in ministry. Remember growing up as a kid, my parents used to always tell me that they'd much rather have a bucking bronco that they had to rein back than a donkey they had to slap to get moving forward. And that they had prayed to the Lord for a kid who was excited, adventurous, and stubborn, and they definitely got it with me. And that continued on as I was an adult. And there were so many times that I had people when I was in ministry who told me sometimes you have to slow down to speed up. But I never listened. And instead I kept pushing at the detriment of myself, the people around me. I kept moving for the next big thing that I could do, the next platform. And ministry became much more of a job, a career, than a calling and a passion. And as a result of that, surrounded by pain that was externally inflicted and self-inflicted. Relationships were harmed, visions were torn down, and potential wasn't reached. And if I'd known, had I listened, they had taught me that you need to slow down and to speed up, I probably could have avoided a lot of it.
Known, had I listened, I would understand that submission is not a one-time thing. I was under the impression that just because I submitted to God, to my calling, that was the only thing I had to do. I'm reminded of, I really got the tug and the pull of the calling to ministry in college. And it was so funny that other people around me could see it, and they would kind of tell me, you know, I believe you're called to preach. I believe you're called to ministry. And I didn't want to really listen to it, didn't want to submit to it. When I finally submitted to it, and I went under training and submitted to God and all these things to be licensed to preach. Once I got licensed to preach, I kind of took that downshift. All right, God, I did that. I should be good now. But I understood, if I would have just understood then, that submission is not a one-time thing, that in every season that you go through, that there has to be a submission unto God, because that submission unto God takes you to a place that eyes have not seen, nor ears heard, neither has it entered into the heart of man, the things that God has prepared for those who love Him. Had I known, had I listened.
Had I known, had I listened, you know, I was blessed to have some wonderful pastors in my life who spoke things into my life. And if I had really listened, the truth is, no telling where the ministry would have gone. You know, when we're young, we can be impulsive. And if I had listened with a greater degree of astuteness, I think what would have happened, perhaps I would have stepped out on some of the counsel that they gave me. The other thing that this brings to mind, though, is that one of the things that we desperately need as pastors is a collegial circle of people. And that takes constancy and consistency, building of trust. So I'm at the point right now in my ministry where we're trying our best to develop collegial relationships with people where we feel as though we can vent with, we can be honest with, people who will not judge us because we're not perfect, but people who will tell us when we're sort of stinking and tell us how we can be a little bit better in our walk and in our ministry. And I would suggest, especially to young pastors, find you some people who are going where you want to go or have gone where you want to go. And I also want to suggest develop that collegial circle of a group of people that you can be honest with and talk with along the way.
Had known, had I listened. I'm going to take the stance from that as being a pastor. Coming from a church that was Church of God in Christ and coming to a Baptist church, a church that was Church of God in Christ and coming to a Baptist church, you often heard people tell you that take your time, don't make any sudden moves, don't put anybody in sudden leadership, learn to date the people. Had I known, had I listened, I would have taken that advice, because when you're eager to come to a ministry and you're eager for that ministry to grow, you will have people that will come that will be willing to help. However, you have to understand that there were people there before, and those people there before, they have a better understanding of how the ministry flows. However, on the flip side of that, you have to be cautious and careful, because there could be people that are coming in that can help take the ministry to another level. However, because of things that we've heard, not to put people in place or not to make certain moves, because they have that gift in them and they are lying dormant and stagnant because others are in the way, can cause the ministry somehow to stay at a stagnated place. And those that would have wanted to work or help get your ministry to the next level, because they're not being used, because we've been taught to respect and keep people in place, they'll leave the ministry, and where they could have taken it to another level, it lies dormant, and you end up losing on a great good group of people. So if I had known, had I listened, I would have found some way to get some kind of collaborative effort to bring both forces together so that we could work in harmony and in unity.